Hey, welcome to this edition of Snowmobiler Television. On this week's show, we're in the heart of the Ottawa Valley, Pembroke, Ontario, to experience what this region has to offer up the snowmobiler. We've also got a trailer in the shop where we're going to accessorize it with some Superclamp parts. The SRX is back one final time for an alignment, and we're going to look back at some of my favorite Yamaha winders from the past. This is going to be a busy show, but right now, it's time to spool it up.
STV is brought to you by Yamaha, revs your heart. Polaris Snowmobiles, together we are born for more. Ford F-Series, Canada's best-selling line of trucks for 53 years. Tough, smart, capable.
Since the days of log booms floating down the Ottawa River, Pembroke has been an economic hub for the Ottawa Valley. Nowadays, for us snowmobilers, Pembroke continues to be a hub, but for the network of trails that crisscross this region. This area is also my backyard. I grew up and still live in the west end of Ottawa, and the valley has always been my riding area. Pembroke in particular is my go-to place for early and late season riding, as the conditions in this area move up and down the valley with the snow. Trailering up here takes me around an hour, but I always know there's going to be plenty of parking at the Irving truck stop right off Highway 17 for day rides, or at the Best Western across the street if we're staying overnight. When the skis hit the snow, it pretty much doesn't matter to which point of the compass you're heading towards, you'll always be in for some awesome conditions. These options also allow the rider to go in the best direction for snow and grooming as well, which is a great asset to have if Pembroke is home base for a few days on the trail. Heading roughly north out of town, you'll head towards Mattawa, where the Valois Hotel is a great place to eat lunch at and then head back from. More loop options are to the west, and depending on how ambitious your ride day goals are, there are some epic trails in the Barry's Bay and Whitney area. Heading south, there's easy day rides to Renfrew, Calabogie, and even Arnprior, which, like the other towns in this region, all have great places to stop for eats and fuel. The last option, to the east, lies Quebec. Of course, if you head this way across one of the best bridges I've been on, you'll need the correct FMCQ Trail Pass to ride on this side of the Ottawa River. With such a variety of places to ride to, there's an equal variety of trail to ride on. This region has everything you're craving for, from rail beds making up some of the area's letter trails, to the twisties through hardwood bush to hydro and pipeline chutes. Whatever you want to ride, it's on the menu here around Pembroke.
Yeah, snowmobiling is really important to the Pembroke area from a tourism aspect. I know that the hotels, the restaurants, the gas stations all really count on the sledders coming in. They're very snowmobiler friendly, and we really look forward to welcoming all sledders to the area. People can come into Pembroke and stay here and go over to Quebec. They can be a drop-off to start the wrap, end the wrap. They can go anywhere from here. We have lots of local club trails that they can use. There's lots of parking areas. There's signage for that. It's very snowmobiler friendly. There's several clubs in the area within the district. In Pembroke, there's the Timberline Snowmobile Club, and then we neighbor with, Keatna, Snow Roads, Bontrae, and we all work together, like the groomer might groom for more than one club.
Because we're a little bit of an outlying area, we sometimes, our grooming crews on the weekends complain of busyness, but it's all relative. Very, very quiet on the trails during the week. and the weekends see a bit of a step up in busyness, but still very spread out. There's such a large area with a huge volume of trails that traffic can be spread out all across. Our club in particular, and all of District 6, is integrated into the RAP Tour. We see many travelers all throughout the week when we're working on trails, on the weekends as well. Heavy traffic doing the RAP Tour, and they all stop to convey their enjoyment and tell stories of where they've been and how much they enjoy the area, and especially on the east side of the park. I'm a little bit biased, but we get tremendous feedback about that area while snowmobilers are doing the RAP Tour.
The RAP Tour encompasses quite a large portion of District 6. It's a lot of fun, meet incredible people. The food along the way is always fun, and you know, it's a great thing to do for sure. The terrain in District 6 is mixed bush, fairly hilly. We have a combination of some, especially in the eastern part of the district, we have a little bit of field, railway bed. But for the most part, it's like what you're seeing here. We've got the mixed bush and lots of hills, lots of twists and turns that make it fun. But then, you know, some more open trail as well. So on a cold, windy day like today, it's nice to be in the bush and amongst the trees, and with the snow coming down.
We're a place where you can really disconnect to reconnect, if you will. We are blessed with really outdoor, amazing landscapes. We've got great culture and amazing hospitality. You know, we're really fortunate that we've got a beautiful bridge crossing across the Ottawa River near Portage de Force, which is great access for Ontario snowmobilers going to Quebec, but also for Quebec snowmobilers coming into Ontario. We've also got other crossings along the river up near Ralston also, and so we're really very well poised to accept those Quebec snowmobilers, and we're very, very happy to do so. Pembroke is a great spot. It's a great spot if you want to come and this would be your base camp. Pembroke being a great stop, obviously, as a hub and spoke destination, but we've got everything from, you know, trailside restaurants to gas and service to a wide variety of accommodators, from, you know, full service chain hotels to unique lodges and inns and resorts.
As far as welcoming snowmobilers to this region, we invite them to come to this area. We accept them with open arms. I mean, they bring a lot of, leave a lot of money in the area between gas stations, restaurants, hotels, and I mean, if we treat them properly and we have good trails for them, they're going to bring friends next year with them.
So say you come into Pembroke for the first time and you sled in and you stop and you see what's here. It's a great place to then come back in another season because, again, so being that hub, you can go into our downtown, have a really great meal, do some shopping, check some stuff out, but again, we're also still that kind of, some people refer to it like hub and spoke situation where, you know, we're a great base to stay, and you can then day trip out to, say, Bonnechere Caves, or, you know, check out all the other really great amenities that we have in the area, and then come back to this base and finish off the day with your shopping or with a great meal, or, you know, walk down by the waterfront then at night, and we have, you know, live music every evening in the summer and that kind of thing. So always lots of great entertainment options and ways to just enjoy your time. You know, Pembroke has a lot of the services, a lot of the amenities, the shopping, the, you know, the experiences that people want to come check out, and you can get it all in one spot here. So, and that harkens right back to our history with, you know, starting as a logging town. You know, so you'd have the floats going down the river, and having then, when the guys rode in the logging camps, coming in, and you know, when they had their few days off and they'd come into the city. You might know, like, the Stompin' Tom song that references, like, the boot marks on the ceiling of the Pembroke Hotel, or sort of our history has always been being that hub where people come in to get the amenities that they need to live their lives.
Speaking from personal experience, riding throughout the Ottawa Valley over the years, this area is worth the time it takes to get here. Everyone I bring here has told me they were surprised at how good the trails are, how little traffic there seemed to be, and that they'd be back. And you never know, I might even see you along the trails around here.
This segment is brought to you by Best Western Hotels and Resorts.
Since I got back in the TV game 3 seasons ago now, I'm constantly impressed by the machines that the manufacturers are bringing to market. But there's one sled, or maybe one family of sleds, that has impressed me more than the others and really changed my attitude as to what a snowmobile could be, and that's Yamaha's lineup of Sidewinders.
It wasn't that long ago that I considered myself a two-stroke guy. Sure, I liked the RX-1 when it came out, and then onto the Apexes, even the Nitros, but until I rode the new Sidewinders, the thought of owning one of these 4-stroke machines wasn't really on my mind.
For me, I'd have to say my favorite Sidewinder in the family is probably the SRX. Now, Yamaha reintroduced this model into the mix for 2019, and it really is, for me, the best handling, most balanced Yamaha that I've ever ridden. Ever.
The power had a bunch to do with it, but so did the 1-inch lug track, which allowed the rear of the machine to become a bigger part of the ride experience, similar to how things were back in the triple days, which is where the inspiration for the new SRX came from.
Unfortunately, this past season I really haven't spent a whole lot of time on an SRX, and even though that machine has a place in my heart, riding the 2020 XTX has still been pretty fun. And I gotta say, I love the bold new graphics.
In fact, it's all the sleds in this Sidewinder lineup that for me are all a pretty good machine to be on. But I feel in order to truly appreciate the sleds, I had to really shift my thoughts as to what type of rider I am, which is at the core a trail rider. I appreciate balance and handling at this stage of my snowmobiling life, and I think that's why I like the SRX so much. This shift in thinking also meant that I wasn't disappointed with the fact that the SRX wasn't the best sled off trail.
So I know these sleds are premium models and do command a pretty big price tag new at the dealership or in the used market, but you do get a lot for the money that you spend, and with the Yamaha 4-stroke engine under the hood, you know they're going to be super reliable for thousands of miles in years to come.
The premium suspensions found on these sleds, like the Fox IQS system and the Yamaha engine that really does define this breed, is all technology that doesn't come cheap. We can talk about saving on buying 2-cycle oil or the fuel efficiency when discussing the sticker price of a Sidewinder, but I think the real issue is the lifespan of the engine. With some high horsepower 2-strokes losing reliability as the miles pile on, I believe the Yamaha power plant will still be going strong without ever having to think about an expensive engine rebuild.
One other factor I like about the boosted sleds is how they react to tuning. Over the past couple of seasons, we've had a couple of sleds prepped for us at Precision EFI, and let me tell you, they're a lot of fun. In fact, if Goldilocks was a snowmobiler, she'd say 320 horsepower is just right.
Just like in the automotive world of boosted diesels and gas engines, the Yamaha Genesis responds extremely well to performance tuning. But what's most satisfying about this modification is that the sled is still a very well-behaved machine when it's not being asked to put down over 300 ponies to the snow. Last year, on the SRX we had in the fleet, we went on a family ride for a whole day. And even though it never went any quicker than about 40 kilometers per hour, our SRX with a 280 horsepower tune in it never skipped a beat and was a docile favorite all day long. I don't think a 2-stroke with this kind of power could do the same.
This family of Sidewinders has really carved out a special place in my soul. And I know that sounds corny, but I do believe these machines really fit with where I'm at in my snowmobiling life cycle. And that's because I'm not a kid anymore, but I don't feel like I've completely grown up yet either. I mean, these sleds are kind of like having a mullet. They're business up front and party in the back. Last time on Shop Hustle, we were working on the SRX, where we completely rebuilt the front end with new bushings and heim joints, and we even replaced all the suspension arms. But we need to finish that job with an alignment.
Just like on a car, whenever you make major changes to the front of your suspension, the work isn't complete without an alignment. Start this job by leveling the machine side to side with shims under the skis. From there, you can check the angle of the spindle. On this SRX, the upper and lower radius rods are adjustable at the heim joint in the center of the chassis. Now, by threading them in or out, you should be able to set the spindle to vertical, or better yet, around 2 degrees tipped in at the top to add a bit of camber. Most A-arm suspensions have an adjustable rod on the upper arm, which is there for adjusting camber as well.
So with the camber set, it's time to turn to the steering, and to do that, to set it best, you want a little bit of toe out, but measure off the carbides. Now to do that, I found these C-channels years ago, which I find are the perfect thing to fit underneath the carbide, and then they're also a great spot to measure from. You should never measure off the skis.
These channels make it easy to check toe if you just want to verify it's still good. Taking a big hit on the front end can knock this toe setting out of whack, so even without doing a major repair, the toe is something to check from time to time, especially if you notice a big change in how your sled is tracking down the trail.
Now, because I replaced so much on the front of the suspension of this SRX, I've kind of lost the center line of the chassis. So in order to find it again, I've straightened up the handlebars so they're completely straight across the chassis. And now I'm going to set from essentially a center line, this aluminum bar here, which I have lined up on the track at the back, and I'll set my toe from there. Looking for 1/8 total toe out, I'll measure at the front of the ski and the back of the ski to that aluminum bar, but I'm looking for the front of the ski to be 1/16 out or so, and that'll give me my 1/8 total when I transfer it to that side.
I'm setting this machine at a conservative 1/8 of an inch, but you can increase this number to even a 1/4 inch or so if you'd like. On this SRX, I'm still dealing with some play in the connection from the spindle to ski area, which is the reason for my 1/8 target. On a tighter sled, I'd definitely shoot for something closer to 1/4 inch toe out. Checking or changing this toe can definitely have an effect on how easily the sled turns, or is a possible solution to help calm down a darting machine. Just remember, whenever you loosen up a tie rod jam nut, to make sure that you tighten it before you hit the trail again.
So don't think an alignment is something you can do by your eye. I tried that, I was only out 1.5 inches. A tape measure is a way better way to go. So on this SRX, I've only got one job left, and that has to do with the odometer. Right now it says 18,581 kilometers. My next job is to get that thing to say over 19,000 K. But that may have to happen on a run stand outside the garage.
As the price of snowmobiles increases, transporting them inside enclosed trailers is becoming more and more important. A sled kept out of the road salt is in much better condition after a couple of seasons, and this means it's worth more in the used market. Nowadays, small to medium cargo-style trailers, or even larger ones like our Legend, are more popular than ever, but they're also spendy, so keeping them in good shape is just as important as the protection these enclosed trailers provide our sleds. The floor is a big issue, especially with sharp carbides and studs. Now, these sharp bits will absolutely destroy the wood floors found in this class of wagon. And to protect ours, we've installed a complete system from Superclamp. Starting with their Superglide mats and traction grids, they not only protect our floor, but also provide extra grip for getting the machines up and down the ramps. This system is modular, with up to 18 screws securing each individual panel. We've chosen to cover the entire floor and miter these panels into the V-nose front, but you can easily space the panels out to cover more ground with less. If you do decide to cover the whole floor, one trick to remember is to keep a small gap between each panel to allow for expansion and contraction. This will keep the plastic from pillowing up if they were installed tight end to end. Another cool detail in both the Superglides and Super Traction grids is the oval-shaped hole and shouldered screws that allow these pieces to move with the temperature changes without binding. With our trailer floor and ramp doors completely protected and ready to load sleds, we're also using super clamps to secure the machines down for transport. Now, the super clamp is plastic for weight savings, and it'll obviously never rust, but don't think that being plastic means any strength has been sacrificed. These pieces are super tough. They're also adjustable for different ski styles, use a pistol grip handle to tighten them up, and there's even a provision to use a lock for some extra security. In addition to the crossbar holding the sled down across the skis, Superclamp has a rear tie-down system that clamps one of your rear suspension rails down to the floor. Not only do these pieces work together to allow your sled to float on its suspension, they also provide 2 points of securement that may be required by law in your area. With the amount of loading and unloading we do for STV and the thousands of kilometers we travel, it sure is nice to know that our floors are going to last a lifetime and that our sleds will stay exactly where we want them to when we're traveling to our next destination.
Over the last few days, we've been spending a lot of time riding around some key snowmobiling towns here in Eastern Ontario, and I have to say it's been awesome catching up and chatting with some of the other riders that we met along the way. I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time on Snowmobiler Television.
STV has been brought to you by Ultimix Belts, performance driven, performance proven. CKX, wear your passion. On Snow Magazine, for snowmobilers from snowmobilers.
Hey, welcome to this week's YouTube comment of the day. And today's comments actually come from our 2019 Yamaha Sidewinder 137 LTX First Burn. There wasn't a lot of comments, so pretty much all of them were good. And the first one was from Pajama Time, and it says, good video, but can you please go into a little more detail about the new graphics package? Thanks. Also, we've got Brent Dale, who says, how do you have an awesome new sled and not mention the bold new graphics? Ugh. And then we've got Corey Peruka, who says, so about those graphics, what were they again? Well, just to remind everybody, the graphics were bold, but just not any graphics. They were bold new graphics. And if you need clarification on that, please watch the video once again. Anyways, thanks for the comments. Keep them coming. Love reading them.